What's going on, Jet fans? Put your seatbelts on. We've just landed some game-changing signings in this free agency. We're going to break down what these moves mean for our season. Stay tuned to find out how these players could turn the tide for the Jets. What's going on, Jet fans? I'm Julian Locasso, joined by my co-host Nick Perry, and this is the Gang Green Report. Guys, if you're tuning in, hit that like button on your way in and subscribe to the channel for more Jets content all off-season long. But we also want to hear your thoughts as well in the comments below. What do you guys think of the moves the Jets have made so far in the first 2 days of free agency? Are you happy? Are you confused? Pissed off? Sound out in the comments below and let us know in this video. Let's get this started. So guys, first and foremost, we made a couple of really good signings that I want to highlight and address. Obviously, up until this point, you guys know who they are, but it's good to kind of glance over them and kind of go over the signings that we've currently made as of right now. And that is number one, starting with probably my favorite signing. And I mentioned this at the end of our free agency preview video, but this is a guy that I've been pounding the table for a while, and that is Justin Fields. We signed him to a 2-year, $40 million deal with $30 million guaranteed. You know, I'm not saying that this is going to be a franchise-saving quarterback for the Jets, but this was, in my opinion, the best quarterback on the market that the Jets could potentially have a resurgence with for his career. Kind of similar to a Geno Smith, Baker Mayfield, and most recently, obviously, Sam Darnold. And while I think the money or dollar amount was a bit high, just understand that, you know, with the nature of the growing salary cap, you know, we have to understand that when that salary cap goes up and the league salary goes up, so do the value of each position's contract as well. So you're going to see big contracts thrown around everywhere. And we've seen that up until this point. We've seen regular players getting abnormally sized contracts. And again, that's just because of the nature of the league. Plus, the way it actually is structured, it gives the Jets tons of flexibility in free agency since they added 4 void years. So honestly, the only thing that he's making this year in 2025, he's making only $5 million base salary and an $8 million cap hit for the season. And then in 2026, that changes to a $20 million deal base salary with 10 guaranteed and a cap hit of $23 million. So this doesn't mean we can't move off of his contract, but the cap hit would be massive if we were to cut him after this year. So that would just leave a massive amount of money. But we're also talking about a guy that will only be making the 21st or 22nd highest paid quarterback contract in the league. But ultimately, my opinion is this. I believe the combination of his youth and reuniting with his once former running mate in Garrett Wilson will provide him the opportunity to make a big push to revive his career, seeing that he was 4-2 last year as a starter and was making great progress playing more under center than he ever has in his career. Nick, give me your opinions on the Justin Fields signing. How do you feel about this? What do you feel is the outlook for the Jets going forward? Give us your opinion.
Yeah, I feel like it was definitely one that needed to be done. I feel like get quarterback out of the way so that way we can build around the quarterback, which is great. I think just like you said before, Geno Smith, Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, just a resurgence from relocation. So even if they could just bring him in, he can give us those good wins. I'm pretty sure last year he had 10 good touchdown to interception ratio. It was like 10-1. I'm pretty sure he threw 5 and then ran 5 in, along with 1 interception. So he improved there. I mean, look at Tanner Engstrand goes into Detroit with who? Like Jared Goff. So same thing, kind of turn his career around, revitalize it. Yes, a very different team, very different offensive scheme, very different than what the Jets are. But if we can fit that into our scheme, make that who we are as a team with Justin Fields, I feel like guys respect him. They like him around the league. You never hear anything negative about him.
Mm-hmm.
He stays out of trouble. You know, they benched him last year. He didn't make a big fuss about it. It was, was it the right move? Who knows? They did a good job, but I think bringing him in with like that backloaded contract, I feel like it's a good move. And like you said, Garrett Wilson, old running mate. Who knows? You've also heard names flying out, other wide receivers we might get. Chris Olave, another teammate of him, grasping at straws, but you never know. But I think it was a good move. I'm glad we got that one out of the way. That's for sure. I don't want to wait for a quarterback. So I think that was great for him.
Yeah, I also don't think this means that we won't go quarterback in the draft. It means that I honestly think based on the way they've been spending money, I think they are more likely to add like a mid-round quarterback to this room and just have Justin Fields go all in this year and evaluate him from a talent perspective. and see whether or not he's somebody that we could go forward with. I don't see this as a long-term option,
Hmm.
but if he does go off, it's somebody that will make a good, decent amount next year, and it doesn't preclude you from going high quarterback options in the draft the following year. So
Yeah,
this is a win-win for the Jets, in my opinion, because, and I've been saying this all day to everybody that's been asking me about it, at the worst, you're getting a situation where Justin Fields is at least exciting.
yeah,
Like, this is somebody that is going to, at least if we're going to suck next year, I want it to be an exciting offense to watch. So,
yeah.
and when was the last time we had a mobile quarterback that could literally tuck the ball and run for like 50 plus yards and get you a touchdown? Never.
We had Vic at the end of his career, but that was about
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, exactly. We had a hobbling Vic going into the end zone, and even that was still exciting, more exciting than what we've experienced in the last couple of years. So I think, that's something that needs no more to be said other than that. But, I just think Justin Fields gives us so much more upside than any other option. And no disrespect to Tyrod Taylor, but I think this was their plan all along.
I feel like they both fit great in a locker room with each other. I think Tyrod again brings like that veteran presence, which is great. And again, maybe just a resurgence in a career, like you said, his ceiling is incredibly high. We've seen what he can do. So I mean, there's nothing like negative about it. But yeah, get into the next guy. Want to do that? So I
Yeah,
think
the next
Andre
guy,
Cisco.
go ahead. Yeah.
Right. So Andre Cisco, we signed him safety. Oh, excuse me, safety out of Jacksonville, 1 year, 10 million. This was probably your favorite signing of the day, aside from Fields. We had, a decent first day. I wish it was more exciting, but he provided experience. Is still one of the youngest players in football. 24 years old with a 4-year vet. So he started 20 years old, kind of like that Braylon Allen-esque kind of age. Thing that we like the most about him, he's played in a ton of different systems already and thrived in similar defense that Steve Wilkes and AG will be employing here, where they ask their safeties to not only be a deep middle third insurance policy, but they ask them to come up with the play, tight man coverage on the ends, and the rush the passer. We saw Andre Cisco. I know Jets fans probably saw it. I can't remember who tweeted, but he absolutely blitzed Zach Wilson and destroyed him when
Yeah.
he did get to him. So that was kind of lovely to watch. But it was good. I think he had a down year in 2024, but we are banking on his youth and production, where he had 8 interceptions, 13 PBUs, and like you said, big on the blitz, big on the hurries, fantastic in the run game. So yeah, I think it was a good signing overall. How do you feel like he'll fit in the system? Obviously with the blitzes and everything, but
Yeah. I mean, I think obviously, you mentioned it, but obviously he's super young. I think we're seeing a trend in terms of what the Jets are trying to do from a signings perspective this offseason, and that is to sign young, talented players for cheaper contracts that have upside. And I think Cisco provides probably one of the biggest upsides out of all the people that were listed as free agent options for the safety position for the Jets. There's a couple of guys that are still out there right now that could kind of fit that bill as well that obviously haven't been signed yet. We'll get into that later. But, one of the biggest things that I do like that he brings to the table is that he does have that production at such a young age. 8 interceptions, 13 pass breakups. This is somebody that's going to come into your system that has NFL experience. So he's not going to be a guy that, comes in and has to learn everything and, kind of get slowly brought up to speed. This is somebody that has played in multiple systems, like you mentioned, can come up on the line and make short tackles. I think that's a big thing for me, especially as somebody that's watched the Jets closely for so many years, is that we just can't find guys that can make tackles. So like
yep.
having a safety that can come up to the line, make a lot of tackles, make a lot of plays. This is somebody that is going to be a threat in the back third to kind of make those plays for you that can be game changing and can, get those interceptions, get those pass breakups and can make plays on the ball. And again, I think the Jets are just banking on upside this offseason. And, that'll kind of bring us into our last signing of the day and probably one of the biggest head scratchers for a lot of fans, because even, us included, we didn't have this guy on our radar whatsoever. So clearly, obviously goes to show why we do not have jobs in the NFL. But Brandon Stevens, Ravens cornerback, signed him for 3 years, $36 million. Ravens fans, from what I've been seeing, are really relieved that they got rid of this guy, basically saying that he is the cheaper version of Tremaine Johnson, which to Jet fans is not great. We
Not
all
a
know
great
how
sign.
that turned out. I get it. I understand it. He had a really, really bad 2024 in coverage. The big thing that stands out, though, from people in the Ravens organization is that Stevens was consistently in position to make plays on the ball almost every single time that he was in coverage. He just couldn't finish for whatever reason, whether it was just being too late on the reaction, whether just being hesitant to make a move on a play. He just seemed to always not finish the play, but he was always in position. And I think the problem with a lot of fans is everyone is going to be so quick to judge a player based on their PFF grades. I'm going to say it even just based on how we evaluate. Obviously, our first look is we go to PFF and we look to see whether or not how they graded out or how well they did, whether the stats were good, But I think just maybe the Jets, who just hired a former first round corner and a damn good one in the first round, plus a former cornerback coach turned DC, let's see if maybe he can get more out of this Ravens player than the Ravens did. The Ravens clearly saw something in him to give him the starting cornerback job the last 2 seasons. And we all know how deep that corner room is and that secondary is. They're loaded with players. So they picked this guy to be a starter the last 2 seasons. So, I think that obviously means something, one, and I just don't think he could capitalize on his potential there. But the last Raven that had a poor PFF grade that came to the Jets and revived their careers, John Simpson, and now fans are saying that he was probably one of Joe Douglas's, best signings to date. So I don't think we should be quick to judge a player that hasn't been in the building yet. So let's watch him play first, get coached up by this new staff, and kind of see what we have in him first before we do anything. But for the most part, I don't think anybody expected this signing. I don't think anybody expected the dollar amount that was given to him. We all saw what DJ Reed ended up getting. We'll talk about that more later on, but I think Jets fans would have much rather seen that contract get given back to DJ Reed, if anything. But I think we all kind of read the tea leaves. DJ Reed just kind of didn't want to come back. So I could see where that was something that was a problem. But what are your thoughts so far on, this signing that the Jets made?
Yeah. I feel like you said, he's coming into a system where you have Aaron Glenn, knows how to deal. I mean, obviously, a couple years ago, long time ago, coming into the New York market as a first-round draft pick, as a cornerback, in a new defense, everything. So I feel like if anybody was to coach him in this system, I would want AG to coach him. This is kind of a coach that I'm like, yep, take me in, please. Show me what to do. Show me how to be better. Let's not also downgrade. He wasn't a tough division. I mean, this guy's matched up against Jamar Chase, George Pickens, T. Higgins. He's got a ton of talent out there. He was one-on-one against them. He's shown great flashes against them. We've seen videos all over where he was good. I think put him in the right system, see what we can do. I feel like, like you said, we didn't have him on the radar. I don't think he's coming in with as much hype as Tremaine Johnson came in with also. So, I mean, if he gets, like you said, also they came from a very deep defensive back room over there. So he's obviously doing something right. If he's in every single play, as long as he can stay consistent, stay healthy, stay out there. And Sauce even tweet, what did Sauce tweet yesterday? He said, every corner that plays on the opposite side always eats. So you can go back. He's like, you can even go back to college and watch my tapes. It just happens. So, I mean, you never know. I mean, who knows? We can revitalize another career like John Simpson. Obviously, 2 totally different positions, but it could totally happen. I mean, you never know. Also, real quick, Andre Cisco, also blazing speed. He ran a 4.35.
Yeah,
just
exactly.
To throw that out there.
Before
AG
we forget, talked a lot about speed. He wants speed, and I'm pretty sure Brandon Stevens
has it too.
He has that too. So I think speed is a question in terms of guys that we're valuing and bringing in. And speaking of guys that we clearly valued, 2 guys of our own got brought back, Sherwood being one of them. I think we should obviously highlight those guys. Sherwood got a 3-year, $45 million extension, 15 of a year. Not going to spend too much time on this one because we all know we wanted Sherwood back. A lot of people are going to say that we overpaid, but I see this again as a situation where he's a young ascending player in the league that was 4th in the league in tackles. He's great in coverage. He'll now be signing a long-term contract as a signal caller for the defense for years to come next to Quincy. Hopefully, this would be something that now allows the Jets to potentially look at Quincy Williams and maybe give him an extension as well, because he's played his butt off the last couple of years. I could see this being our linebacking core for the next couple of years if we keep them both around. As again, like I mentioned before, as the cap continues to go up, this is going to be a deal that we probably look back on as saying that it's a steal, especially if he ends up turning into a guy that's like an all-pro talent in the next coming years. Those are going to be guys that I like. And then the last one, Tony Adams. We gave him a right to refusal tender. Essentially, the Jets placed this tender to kind of give them first dibs to match any potential contract, or give him a larger contract that other teams may or may not give him on the open market. This screams to me like backup option, just in case if they don't get the guys that they want. Plus, getting him back for a cheaper deal could prove to be really beneficial to the team going forward, especially at this position where we're pretty much losing everybody. So, those are two guys that we did bring back. Nick, give your opinions on both Sherwood and Tony Adams.
Yeah, I feel like it was a no-brainer. Like, bring Sherwood back. I mean, he was just a beast. When CJ goes down, like, this guy's always stepped up. Even the past couple years. I mean, yeah, last year was his really like first big breakout year. I mean, linebacker. I mean, same with Quincy. I mean, guy goes from Jags starting. Was he starting on the Jags? But came to us from the Jags. Yeah, so kind of revitalized his career, different location. Same thing. Sherwood didn't change locations, but kind of brought him up from the bottom, stepping in when he needed to, showed great flashes, gets a full-time spot last year, signal caller, and just lights it up. I mean, that guy is quick, fast. Here, I feel like comparing him to a player that we talked about, we thought the Jets might be interested in, Nick Bolton. I feel like they kind of play the same. So it's like Nick Bolton is running at you, Jamin Sherwood's running at you. He wants to hit you. He wants to get to you. He is going to get you. So I feel like that was a great one. And then Tony Adams, I think you just kind of nailed it. It's just a backup option. God forbid we don't get what we want. I think we definitely go safety in the draft probably. But I mean, played pretty solid. I feel like not much to say on Tony Adams. Very high on Sherwood, but I think that was about it. But we also wrote down former Jets who found new homes this offseason. I could take the first couple. So big one, obviously, that we all knew was happening. He said it. We all knew DJ Reed goes to Lions, 3 years, $48 million. I mean, good for him. Great team, goes to a good defense. Good for him. Played his heart out for us. I think he was sad to see him go, but football is a business, and it is what it is, and these guys want to win. It is what it is. Morgan Moses, also, we thought maybe perchance he's coming back. Who knows? I just hate that he had to go to the Patriots, obviously. 3 years, $24 million. They obviously got a great veteran presence there with Morgan Moses, great run block. Just guy does it all in line. And then Javon Kinlaw played alongside Quinnen last year, got 3 years, $35 million. Cowboys, I believe? No. Who was it?
Kinlaw went to Commanders.
That was it. Sorry. Solomon Thomas, Dallas. So, excuse me. Yeah, so he went to the NFC East, stays local, put in a good year with us. So those are like the first three that kind of left us.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and then we had Ashton Davis went to the Dolphins. As of right now, recording, we still don't know what the contract value is. But then we had Solomon Thomas going to the Cowboys, 2 years, $8 million. And then finally, Zach Wilson. We found out he wasn't on our team last year, but just a cool little nugget to kind of put down that he went to the Dolphins as well on a 1 year, $6 million deal. So in all, obviously we're seeing a bunch of people leaving the team in free agency. We're seeing, I feel like left and right so far today. On day 2, we've been seeing guys going off the boards, and even just our own guys leaving in free agency. Obviously, you mentioned DJ Reed, Morgan Moses, Javon Kinlaw. Those were all big-time contributing players for us last year. Obviously, Kinlaw out of the bunch was somebody that stood out to me as somebody that got a bit of a contract that they probably shouldn't have deserved based on his play. He did not play that well for us, so I don't think he should have gotten that big of a contract. But again, he's still young. You're banking on upside. It's really upsetting to see Morgan Moses go. There were reports all the way up until his signing that there was potentially, a possibility that he was going to come back. But like you mentioned, you hate to see him go to a division rival, especially now. It feels like they've revamped that team a lot. They've been spending money like crazy over in New England. So honestly, I could see them having a massive turnaround where their team's going to be pretty competitive this year. As of right now, I don't know how competitive the Dolphins are going to look. As long as Tua is healthy, I mean, that team looked really good with him on paper, but it doesn't seem like they've added much this offseason. But we talked about a lot of guys in our preview video. I think it's just, it's cool to like go over the guys that did go in free agency, to just kind of go glance over them, to just see where they went, what they went for. We all kind of had these guys on our radar as big ticket guys that the Jets could have potentially signed. But again, I feel like the trend going into free agency so far with Darren Mougey has looked more along the lines of trying to build a young core and try to find positions of need at good face value. We've seen the contracts like Paulson Adebo, Javon Holland going to the Giants. Those guys got really big deals. 3 years, $54 million for Adebo, 3 years, $45 million for Holland. Both are absolute steals for the Giants, who are clearly loading up on the back half of their defense. They let go of Xavier McKinney a year ago, which is basically the biggest head scratcher for a lot of Giants fans and a lot of fans around the league. They're kind of saying, how are you going to go and give out a big contract to Javon Holland after you just let Xavier McKinney go, who ended up being one of the leaders in the league in interceptions, especially at the safety position too, let alone like not even a corner, safety position. He was leading the league in interceptions.
Yeah, he was something.
So it's been crazy, and then, I mean, listen, I'm not going to say Adebo was an overpay. Like I mentioned before, I feel like when the cap goes up, all the positions of value go up, and corner especially is one of those heavily coveted positions. So getting a corner of that value was good for them. I personally am just shocked that Javon Holland went for as much as he did. They were talking this guy was going to go for $20 million. And he ended up only going for 15. So that's kind of what bugs me a little bit about the Jets not making that move, because I feel like if you're going to go get one of the top safeties on the market at 15 million for 3 years, I feel like that would have been a really good snag for us. So yeah, I feel like that's something that really bothered me. So I mean, you can continue on with the next couple of guys on the list, but we had a couple of guys here that went, and I feel like we could have gotten a little bit more out of these guys, but we didn't. So
yeah,
who am
I feel like first one, obviously, I just brought him up. I think he was going to be a little bit of a reach for us. Nick Bolton, Chiefs, 3 years, $45 million. We kind of figured this would be like a dream kind of snag in free agency if we were to get him. If Sherwood was not signing, don't get me wrong, I would rather have Sherwood stay, homegrown player in AG's system. I think he'll thrive. I think he'll be awesome. He's got that chemistry with Quincy. I think there's no doubt there. Somebody who I think we both really wanted, Trayvon Moehrig.
Yeah,
he signed with the Panthers, 3 years, $51 million. Like you said, a lot of money with that cap going up, though. Panthers are just revitalizing that team. They're clearly loading up, clearly spending a lot of money this year. Loaded up at D tackle as well. 2 for the price of 1 with Tershawn Wharton and Bobby Brown. Added edge Pat Jones from the Vikings. Also made J.C. Horn the highest paid corner in the league, which is no small feat. So I hope he lives up to that. But I mean, just that guy. Hufanga out of San Fran had the down year last year. I believe he was hurt for most of the year.
Yeah, he was.
He signed with the Broncos, 3 years, $45 million, who's another team who just seems to be revitalizing that defense more and more and more under Sean Payton. I think he really first year he was there, we're like, okay, great, Sean Payton, woohoo. Like right now, they're looking pretty solid. So I think another guy, I'll mention one guy that kind of snuck by us as well, Jags. De'Ami Brown, who we mentioned, 1 year, $10 million. Good pickup. $10 million for him. Unsure. I don't know how it's it's $1 million, but 1 year, $10 million. I don't know if he'd be worth that much coming into our system, especially being such a small, on the shorter side, playing next to Corley and Gibson, who we already have in the slot. So who knows? But it's another target for T-Law to throw to. So, I mean, it can't hurt them. So, but they're definitely moving in the right direction. So,
yeah, and I think 2 other names, at least from the receiver position, that we were kind of upset that kind of got picked up was Darius Slayton. Went back to the Giants. Who knows what this means for them? I mean, I figured, he might stay. It seems that they're loading up on defense. So with, the 2 that we mentioned prior, Do they see this as something where they believe that the quarterback is like now going to be the main spot for them, whether they, go and trade up for Cam Ward, or do they get Sanders at 3? Who knows? We don't know how the draft board is going to fall or what they're going to do, but it seems likely that they're going to bank on trying to load up and build around their young quarterback that they're going to try to bring in. So that seems to be an all-in move so far for what Joe Shane looks to be doing over in the other side of MetLife. And then the last one that just got reported.
I think this one's really eating him alive.
Nick Westbrook-Akine, going to the Dolphins, 2 years, $6.5 million, $3 million guaranteed. I feel like this would have been a perfect compliment for Garrett Wilson on the other side of the line, and I just feel like the Jets let this one go by, man. I mean, this is somebody that could have been a very good compliment. Had 9 touchdowns. I mentioned this guy in our free agency preview video, but this is somebody that I've been literally pounding the table for, and to see him go to a division rival for such a cheap contract. Only 27 years old, too, so it fits the bill with the youth that Darren Mougey's been kind of going with so far this offseason. Now this kind of leaves some major holes for the New York Jets going forward. But yeah, I mean, we talked about now some guys that we could potentially be looking forward. As of right now, we're recording this. It's 7:56, so about to be 8 p.m. on Tuesday. And so far, the Jets have not made any moves today. I think
0.
It's
not one.
It's literally eating us alive that it's literally this time, and the Jets have made 0 moves today.
It's really hard.
I'm sensing something big is on the way, whether it's a big time trade or something of that nature, or nothing at all is happening. I don't know what's in the works at this point. DeAndre Hopkins also just signed with the Baltimore Ravens, so that is another big developing move that just happened as well. So another receiver flies off the board for us in free agency. Now,
Evan Ingram's meeting with the Chargers.
Yeah. So it's like very slim pickings at this point. I think I sent you a list right before we went on here of guys that I think that we should that are still out there. These guys are still out there, by the way. Tight end is a massive, massive need for this team. We saw Juwan Johnson go earlier today as well. So for me personally, in no particular order, these are guys that I'm looking at right now, and that is Tyler Conklin. I think we should re-sign him. That's should probably be priority number 1.
I feel like we kind of have to right now.
At this point, we really do, just because of the fact that, there's literally no tight end options out there that I really like.
We can't go in one person with Rutger.
Yeah. Rutger, you cannot be our main tight end feature next year. I think you have to re-sign Tyler Conklin and then go potentially 1 or 2 more guys in the draft at that position. The next guy that I really, really like on this list is Jedrick Wills. He's a guy that I've been literally pounding the table for as well at right tackle. This is a guy that has left right tackle flexibility. So at the most, he's a stopgap right tackle that you can add somebody in the draft with, or he's a depth piece that could play both positions. So this is a guy that I've been really liking as well. Another low-budget safety that I'm really enjoying also is Julian Blackmon from the Colts. They just completely revamped their secondary, and it doesn't look like they're bringing Julian Blackmon back. And he fits the bill for what they're trying to do with the Jets with these young players. So he's young. He's been in the league for a couple of years now, so he has tons of experience, and he's an amazing tackler. So I think he could play that box safety role, whereas Cisco can go in your back third and be your roaming free safety. And then the last couple guys that I really like that are at major positions of need, one being Levi Onwuzurike from the Detroit Lions, interior defensive line. This is a guy that we talked about in past videos. This is a guy that I really, really like. I think he could pair really well with Quinnen Williams up the middle. And then the last 2 guys, I think, that are dark horses for the team at a sneaky position of need, and that's at the edge position with Azeez Ojulari and Zadarius Smith. I think those are guys that could, I feel like any combination of these players that are left on free agency, you're looking at a potentially decent offseason that could really put you in a good spot now going into the draft, where then you could literally go best player available. Yeah. Those are my guys, at least. I think out of the guys that are available, those are people that I'm really looking out for.
Yeah, I feel like it's just, first off, hit it right on the head. If like Tyler Conklin, like you need to resign, you need to resign with us. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know where else he would go. I don't know who's looking for a tight end like that. I'm pretty sure he still wants to be a starter. So he's our best option. Jedrick Wills, like you said, Julian Blackman, great option. I think Zadarius Smith is like really enticing on that list. That's probably like one guy that I'm kind of like, yeah, we can get him going, or Anzarike, just because Quinnen needs somebody, man. He needs somebody on that line with him. Like, man has been putting in work for what 5-6 years now. It's time to get him some
Yeah.
help. We need
Yeah.
somebody up there with him. He thrives. I mean, look how good he was with our defensive line 2 years ago when our defense was unstoppable. I mean, he was racking up the sacks even last year. Great player, plugged up holes and everything, but he's really getting the quarterback more, and I think some of these guys can help him do that for sure.
Yeah, especially because, Joe Douglas completely destroyed our defensive line last season. I don't know why
Blew it
he
up.
did that. We had probably one of the best defensive lines in all of football, and we were up there with the Cowboys in sacks and pressures a couple years ago. So like it's just crazy how he completely dismantled that line. I think any combination of these players are really going to help us out to round out our free agency. Worst case scenario, again, like we said, no moves have been made today, but if there's any moves, we'll be sure to report on it. We're hoping at this point the Jets aren't done just yet with their free agency moves. What are your guys' thoughts on what the Jets did or didn't do in the first wave of free agency? Let us know in the comments below. If you guys enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe if you're new, and as always, guys, let's go Jets.